Live post-game show after Game 6 of the NBA Finals. What an impressive win, I suppose we can call it. I mean, it was a little bit rough toward the end there from both teams, but a very dominant performance. And if you missed the opening, I'll do it one more time. Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show after Game 6. Congratulations to the Bucks. Great to see them end this series in 6 games. I was ready for it. I'm not going to lie. I was ready for this season to be ended. It was a long season. A very, very impressive performance by Giannis in this game without question. And what I had tweeted out that people seemed to respond to was the difference in this series was the difference between Giannis and Devin Booker. So Giannis, is so physically overpowering, can't be stopped. Booker is not physically overpowering and needs to rely on other things to be able to score and simply couldn't be. He's just not quite that guy, I don't think, who you can rely on. I was convinced after the Western Conference Finals that he had kind of gotten there, but I think it was uneven enough across the finals to me that it was like, I don't know. Maybe I'm not so sold on his game anymore like I used to be. He had a couple of good halves and that were really, really on fire. Great. I'll have to break it all out and see the numbers, but I have a feeling of let's see here, the 12 halves, or we can say 24 quarters. I would have to say of the 24, I would say at least 14 or 15 or 16 of those quarters were really suboptimal and not shooting well. So that was too much for the Suns to be able to overcome when you have Giannis, who can come down the court anytime and just go right to the basket. They either have to foul him or he's going to score it. So that was really, really just an impressive, physically dominating performance by a player who, there's very few of those guys that have scored as many points as he has and has shot as well. So don't forget, you can come into the show and chop it up with me and using the Hot Mic app. So if you're out there on YouTube and you want to join the show, you click on that button to, I believe it's in the link in the description, I hope. Come on the Hot Mic app, join the show, request to speak, and I'll bring you in. And guess what? We already have a speaker who wants to come on. So let me, before I forget, I'm just not prepared tonight. Let me put my headphones in here so we don't all hear the echo. Okay, now we got a couple people who want to come in. So bear with me as they begin the trophy ceremony here. A lot of people in Milwaukee want to share in this one. It's been a long time coming. So let's get, oh my goodness, a lot of people. So let's get Blake in here. I know he was first. He's been waiting patiently. So Blake, hit that button. Come on in. Hopefully we're functioning properly on the old Hot Mic app, and we will chop it up. Blake, what's happening?
Oh, nice to see you, Coach. I was just wondering if it's safe to say now that Giannis is the best player in the league right now.
Ooh, great question. Is Giannis, and by the way, that came up on Twitter too with a couple NBA guys kind of saying you have to give Chris Middleton some love here. And I had said that too, only because a lot of times you need to use a little hyperbole to kind of get the proper hype for certain players that might go under the radar. And certainly Chris Middleton, I think he was probably as instrumental as Giannis was in at least 2 of the wins. But overall, Giannis is obviously the Finals MVP. Is he the best player in the league? It's kind of a hard thing to figure out, because if we're talking about skill, then no, because he's not really the most skilled player. But is he the most dominant? I would probably have to put him in that category, particularly when he kind of abandoned his normal game and went to being a center, where he did hit 1 3 and took another one. But he just about finally kind of got rid of all of that. He kind of got rid of mostly any kind of other jump shots. He took one other one, and he went to work just as roll man, as a post-up guy. That is, and in the transition for sure, that is him. That's his game. And if he's finally embraced that, then yes, you could say he's the most dominant NBA player. Is that fair? Is that good enough, Blake?
Yeah, that's all I really had.
What do you think?
Yeah, he's just dominant. It's hard to stop a guy that size and that strong and stuff. For
sure. Well, are you happy for the Bucks?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of rooting for the Suns to start, not gonna lie, but I mean, Giannis performed that good that many games in a row. I mean, you got to give it to him.
For sure, he deserves it. He played really well, and so the Bucks fans deserve it too.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Blake. All righty, let's go on to our next speaker. I'm going to go in the order. This is, I suspect it's not exactly the order of the request, but hey, we'll get to everybody. So Shanku, let's bring him in and see what he has to say. And don't forget, if you want to catch my eye with a super chat on the YouTube side, that'll always be the best way to get a comment through on that side. I do give preference to any kind of comments I see over on the Hot Mic app. And while we're waiting for Shanku, I do have a super chat. My goodness, Orlando Sab on the third. Thank you so much. What defense would the Suns change to cover Giannis? Great question. So they needed to mix it up and vary it, and they should have doubled him a little bit more. They did double him at some point, like in that third quarter, and got a nice steal on a turnover on a skip pass, because I don't think Giannis is that great on those skip passes when he gets doubled. So they could have doubled him a lot more. I don't think that Crowder is the answer. Fouler is what I was kind of calling, because he fouls every single time he tries to play defense. So that would be another way to do it. Although I didn't mind maybe necessarily Crowder on him initially and then having somebody kind of like Ayton shadowing. But Ayton we'll get to in a minute. Totally suboptimal. Shanku, what's happening, my man?
What's up? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I'm pretty happy about the Bucks.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy for them. I'm happy that the season is over. Can't lie.
So, just one question, I guess, about just today's game in particular is, what do you think Monty Williams should have done differently, just to stop Giannis, and how dominant he was, if there is a way?
Yeah. Well, a great question to ask, because we just on the heels of the super chat I got on YouTube with the same question. So I can elaborate some more. So I think with a guy like that, you have to get him to get the ball out of his hands, right? So we used to see the wall being formed in transition, and teams were really good at that. The Suns were not good at that at all. They didn't necessarily get killed too much with that, with him scoring in transition a lot. But in this game, they certainly did not form a wall, did not have a second defender at least to show him something to stop him there. So they needed to do that. That was definitely a big missing piece in their defense. And then they just didn't seem to have any ability to double very consistently when I think that they should have. So, the way with like Drew Holiday was shooting, and not even Middleton was shooting that well, you can afford to double team and see if you can rotate out of those and get it out of his hands, because otherwise you saw what happened. It wasn't working. And it did work. They did double him a little bit, but it was certainly not enough. Now he was hitting his free throws, because I would have said, take some fouls on him too. That gets tough if he's hitting them, but you still probably have to try that as well and mix that in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they went to the 2-3 zone in first half for a little bit, and they had some rotation problems, and just looked pretty sloppy defensively, at least.
Yeah, the 2-3 zone wasn't it, and yet they still had a 3-point lead and the 5-point lead the Suns did in the first half, but it felt really hollow to me. And neither team played particularly well. Giannis played great; he was dominant, but as a team across the board, I thought they both played kind of poorly in a way that it's I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. This wasn't like two teams at the absolute pinnacle of their games, slugging it out, one at great play up another. It was more like Booker getting the ball knocked out of his hands, Middleton throwing the ball out of bounds. Like, it was a lot of that stuff too. So, it wasn't a beautiful game, but it was gritty, and it was exciting and epic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I guess one more question, just about like basketball in general. So would you say basketball is just like a completely like hot and cold game?
Oh.
Like, just like depending on the night, it's just like depending on which team's hot, which team's cold. That's something I've thought about.
That's a great question. And I kind of think that now it is. I don't know if it used to be that way. There used to be maybe a little more consistency, and now it's an open game. More and more opportunities for players. Like, for instance, I was doing a video today. I didn't get it finished on Connaughton, and maybe I can still do it because he had a couple key plays tonight. If you watch him play, for instance, he just runs to the left corner and stands there almost every possession, right? A lot of players do that. That is their role. That's all they do. And so as a result, I kind of feel like, the style of play is just different than it used to be in that sense. And so, you get a lot of runs with like the 3-point shooting, so that it is kind of way up and down, and you never know, by the way, you get more runs like back into the game. So back in the day, if you were down by 20 in the middle way through the third quarter, the game was over. Like, you weren't coming back. Now that's nothing these days. The question really is, do the fans enjoy that? And are they reacting negatively to this such a variable sense of playing that, it just is wild and up and down and so inconsistent? It could very well turn them off, and it might explain why there's a lack of ratings.
Yeah, absolutely.
All righty.
All right.
Thanks,
so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon. All right, we got a lot of people want to come in the show. We got to get through everybody, but I got some super chats I got to take care of first. Some order business. Orlando Sablon, again, thank you so much. A lot of one-on-one on Ayton and Giannis. Yeah, for sure. So Ayton picked the wrong day to be very suboptimal. You know, he had a lot of great shots, and he normally makes those shots. Who knows what was up with him and why he's just a little bit off tonight. The Suns, obviously, had they gotten even a decent game or a normal game from him, they probably win. So that it's got to hurt when you look at that because they got him good shots. He ended up being 4 for 12 from the field. When you're talking about not shooting outside of about 6 feet, that's not good enough. And, you know, he would have been at least, you know, like 6 of 12. That's 4 more points. You know, that's almost, you know, they lost by 7, but like, you know, down the stretch, if he had those 4, it's probably a tie game or something. So that was really, really big for them. But, you know, I don't know if it's any bigger than 8 for 22 from Devin Booker, who it's just kind of was overmatched is physically too. I mean, he was trying to go at Giannis, and he's had success before on some plays, but you know, the one foul call, or they didn't make a call when he was trying to go, and he got his left arm up into Giannis, which seemed provocative in contact wise, but it was clear that his left arm was not going to gather the ball. It was going out away from his body to like make the contact. The referees rightfully weren't going to give him that call. So that was sort of a good, you know, microcosm of what was going on all night tonight. So let's see here. We have another couple of super chats. Wow. Thank you guys so much. Zion, thank you. Thank you from Canada. When do you think the next season will start? If they haven't announced it yet, but I thought they were going to start on time or pretty close to on time. So be prepared for that. You know, end of October. Well, let's see. Probably in the middle of October, I'd imagine when they're going to start. Because remember, most of the teams have been off for a while now. It's just the last 2 or last 4 of those teams. So they're going to probably get pretty close to back with the way it used to be. Jose Valencia, thank you so much. If AD, Kyrie, Harden, and Kawhi healthy, do the Bucks win? No, I don't think the Bucks would have beaten the Nets. Having been down 2-0 with just KD and Kyrie going healthy, I think that the Nets would have won that series. So they definitely benefited, as a lot of teams do. So that happens. Now, the Kawhi healthy one, you know, that would have been interesting if Kawhi was healthy playing with the Clippers in the finals. I don't know. That's an interesting one. Maybe that would be a good game too. But, you know, the Clippers were good, and they really competed in the conference finals without Kawhi. So if they had Kawhi healthy, that would have been tough. But certainly we had a body of evidence for the Nets and the Bucks. Thank you so much, Josie. Let's see. 9 Flyer. Thank you. Do you think that Giannis is the best defensive player in the league? No. He's a perfect package of rim protection, switchability, and speed. Well, okay. You know what? The blocks were pretty impressive for certainly tonight in that effort. I don't think he's the best defensive player overall, but you know, because he gets lost sometimes and isn't in the right spots in transition defense. But he certainly can make up for it. Let's see. He's probably the most playmaking defensive player, if that's a word in the description, because he's so long and he has good energy and he really exerts himself on that end. So that's great to see. And he'll cover up some things that other teammates give up. So, but I wouldn't put him in the best defensive player in the league. S. Frosty, thank you so much. 17 and 19 free throws made from Giannis. What changed tonight? Better shot mechanics, or he overcame the mental block? I didn't see much in the shot mechanics being that much different. He's home. We all know home versus away. The crowd's not counting. And when the crowd's not counting, that obviously is a mental part of it. So I'm going to go with mental part. You know, he's figured out a way to kind of replicate that motion, even though it's not the most optimal motion you've ever seen. And because of the mental side, it wasn't interrupting that and getting in the way from the crowd being much more supportive. He was able to make them. So I think, yeah, the mental thing is probably the most important part of that component there, and home. Raul DM, thank you. What can the Bucks do to run it back for next year? Well, I mean, they certainly can. They can run it back. They need to obviously get DiVincenzo back. They have to keep Portis. I don't know what Portis' status is, but they definitely need him like nobody's business. They need another guard. They need the upgrade from Jeff Teague, and they probably just need another big man too. You know, who can just be the energy guy, setting good screens, grabbing rebounds, that kind of thing. And I think they'd be in good shape. You know, Dante DiVincenzo is a big upgrade for them just to have him back too. One more time before I bring some more guests on. Buzzer beater, thank you. Did the refs favor Giannis in Milwaukee? I thought they were kind of like not great in the first half for both teams, so it was sort of even. And then the second half, you know, nothing really bubbled up too much that really made me shudder, especially considering it was Brothers and Foster. It ended up being, it was okay. It was fine. I don't think we had much of an issue, but good question on that one. But it leads to more of the record for CP3 when Foster is refereeing him in the playoffs. Okay, let's get to some speakers here. The order, it looks like it's gotten a little bit screwy, but I'm going to go with Kevin. Let's go with Kevin first. Hopefully you're still there and ready to go, and this app is working. Giannis showed us why he was a 2-time MVP. Trishawn, he certainly did. Yeah, he had a dominant series physically, without question. Kai is happy there's no further injuries. That's for sure. Kevin, what's happening, my man?
Hey, Coach, can you hear me?
I can.
Hey, first of all, I just want to say, man, I'm so happy that you looked at my tweet and liked it when I say you have to go live, man. That was me. I was saying you definitely have to go live after this game, man.
Well, so I had to like it so that I could find it to then add my tweet that had the link to the show. So thank you.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna try to keep it. So I got a whole bunch. So number one, as you said, Aiden did not have a great game. You could tell he was really timid with the ball catching. He missed a lot of easy shots and everything. And then I think he only had like 12 points and 6 rebounds. So, of course, he wasn't really efficient. But I was thinking with the Devin Booker, do you think it was kind of a fatigue thing dealing with him today? Because, he had back-to-back 40-point games, or it was just, he's on the road. He's in Milwaukee. The defense was just, different. And I also agree with how you said about how he's a little bit up and down. Mm-hmm. And you could kind of see how Chris Paul really impacted the team nature of it. So where do you think the Suns really can go from here? What do you think is their ceiling? I think this is probably their ceiling.
Well, I think that the Devin Booker problem is, as it's been all series long, is they don't run their offensive sets that are so good for him. They just abandon them. And I've showed in the videos, and I'll probably show them again tomorrow. Left block, come around one pin down into a handoff, and he makes all of those shots. It's insane. He hit one on the right wing for a 3 in Game 5. That was insane. Holiday was all over him. So they didn't run any of that in the second half. I can't picture one time where they really did it. Maybe a couple times they got him in the left corner, but not in that block, and then not coming around screens. So he's just not really good enough to overpower guys getting to the rim and out jumping them. So he has to have the offense work for him, and they weren't letting him do that. So that's a Monty issue. It's a Chris Paul issue. It's a Booker issue. It's all those things that maybe under the intense spotlight and pressure they couldn't remember to do it. You know what I mean? It's very, very strange, and that's going to haunt them. Yeah,
right. And so this goes into the offseason of they made it this far, and now Chris Paul is about to be a free agent, and now you just wonder do you go stick with Cameron Payne and just try to develop and, because I believe they are a playoff team now in the West, or at least the competitiveness, but now, they're in the West. So the West is just going to keep being the West. And so now my question is for the Bucks, do you smell a dynasty with them now? Do you think they could continue to make some finals appearances now, even though people are about to kind of hate and be making all these, if KD was healthy and this and that? We can't go off ifs. If was a fifth, we'll all be drunk. So do you think the Bucks kind of have a dynasty on their hand with Drew Holiday and all them keeping up? Do you think they can make a couple finals now?
Well, I mean, dynasty could be, defined in different ways.
I think just making finals appearances, keep going to the conference finals and finals.
Conference finals, no, without question there. And then finals. Yeah. I mean, I think that they have an opportunity now to upgrade the roster a little bit more. And if they get DiVincenzo back, like I mentioned, then they're going to be really, really tough without question. There's also that thing about the glow after you win a title, and you kind of believe a little bit more and you play better that way, and you have a little swagger. So I could see that happening too. I'm still not sure they would be able to beat the fully healthy Brooklyn Nets, but that's the only team that I would think that could beat them. And then as a result, maybe we'll get a 3 or 4 years of just incredible playoff series between those two teams. And it'll be a shame with one of them having to lose.
Absolutely. And then also lastly, what do you think about with the Suns pick and roll play towards the end? I mean, they was doing so well the first two, and then it just seemed the Bucks just did something towards to blow 4 games in a row. You just have a psychological thing, a play thing. But, like you said, the Bucks don't really make adjustments. But, what do you think? And what addition do you think Bobby Portis and PJ Tucker ended up making towards the end of the season for them as the team?
Well, and then, by the way, 9Flyer also on the YouTube side gave me a little super chat. Thank you for that. What a hell of a pickup PJ Tucker turned out to be. Yes. Well, I mean, I think in the PJ Tucker in the context of like DiVincenzo going out, and they needed to have another NBA player to put in the lineup and play a lot of those minutes too, was huge for them. I don't know if he was like terrific.
I'll say more of like the Bobby. Right. I'll say more of like the Bobby Portises and like the other key players compared to like, I think them having like George Hill and all them beforehand. Yeah. What do you think about them? With
Bobby Portis? Bobby Portis is huge, and I have always liked his game. I was a little surprised when people wanted to throw shade on him. He's a tough, like those are the kind of players as a coach you like because they're just mean, right? A little bit mean, a little bit tough. Although I bet you he's really nice, like outside of the lines.
Absolutely.
But don't ask Mirotic this. But other than that, anyway, so Bobby Portis was absolutely huge. I mean, he could hit threes. He was grabbing rebounds. He can set screens. He can handle the ball a little bit. I mean, he's terrific. They got to make sure that they keep him for sure. And then but there was another part of that question you were asking about the offense, I think. Who's offense?
With the Suns pick and roll. I really just wanted so it just went down here afterwards the last, 4 games in a row. Yeah. Where do you think? And so I think Chris Paul had 24, but it wasn't impactful 24. It just wasn't him. I think it was something to do with that hand of his. I don't think he was fully healthy down the line, but ain't no excuses. He still played. Right. Well, where do you see this going for his legacy? This is the 4th time he blew a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, and I also want to call out Buzzer Beater. Thank you so much on the super chat for asking also what happened to the Suns pick and roll plays. I mean, listen, Chris Paul got some buckets down the stretch. I mean, he shot really well, but you're right. It wasn't horribly impactful, but like they were getting some of that for him. And then Booker, though, wasn't kind of getting the kind of actions on the pick and roll either. I think that the Suns just under the glare of the pressure, like just fell apart a bit on offense.
I just think they was a small team at the end. The Saric injury really hurt them.
It really hurt them. It did. Just like the DiVincenzo, it hurts the Bucks. They needed another bona fide NBA player to put in. Now, by the way, Frank Kaminsky, gave him some.
That was going into my point. Yeah. Kaminsky actually gave him some pretty good minutes while DeAndre was in foul trouble. But you just need depth at times like this, and the Suns just wasn't able to recover. Yeah, and
so I'll tell you what. Let me get some other people on the show, but I'll get to I'll get to the CP3 legacy in a second. But Kevin, thanks so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it,
Coach. Thank you.
All right. So we got a lot of people want to come on the show. I want to try and get through everybody. My buddy Eli wants to know who texted me if is Bud exonerated. So we have to talk about CP3's legacy. We talk about Coach Mike Budenholzer's legacy or whatever you want to call that. Are there any other super chats before I mix that? Now I got all the super chats. Oh no, Zion wants to know. Thank you, Zion. How does Giannis's performance rank in all-time great playoff performances? I got to look at the numbers, but it's got to be. He's probably top 10, I think, top 10, top 15. There's a lot of really good performances in the finals, but he's got to be up there without question amongst LeBron's. Michael might have been better, and then Jerry West might have had a finals in there. Maybe am I going crazy? Not too many though, but I bet you it's in the top 10. But maybe not quite any higher than like 10 or 9, 8, 9, 10 in there, I think. But listen, that's amazing. So, thank you, Amar Izan. Amar Izan. Thank you for becoming a member. We're gonna have a lot more stuff for the members coming into the off season. So check out the membership. We'll have a lot of exclusive live shows for you guys and some other content. So stay tuned for that. But let's get some more people. We got 2, 4, 7, 9, 11, 12. We got 14 people who want to come in. Wow. So let's try Mateo. So thank you guys for being so patient. I'm going to try to get to everybody's as many people as I can. Mateo, are you there? Hit that button. Come on in. Join us on the YouTube side and on Hot Mic. Mateo.
Hello, Coach. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. This series just made me think of a question of how much do you think Giannis really needs to improve his shot, if at all, or if he can just stay as sort of like a low post or dominant center role? Because I know, with today's game, it's a lot harder to play and win games when you can't really space the floor, especially all the bigs are shooting threes now. So do you think Giannis can still be on a very competitive championship team going forward without improving his 3-pointer all that much?
I think so. I mean, because it's funny. The thing is, when he stops shooting them, then he becomes better and more dominant, right? Stop shooting the 15, 16-footers. Stop shooting the 3-pointers. Just do the 90s center thing. And then in the transition, you can handle the ball and go. That's great. So I think he could do that and still be very successful. They'll have enough shooting around him that they can be, him at small ball 5 and all those things. So he doesn't necessarily have to, which is fascinating. If he does, but that's the weird thing. Okay, so he shoots better from, he becomes a competent shooter. So he goes from 29 points a game to 31, right? Yeah. It's like, what do we, as a coach, you want to see improvement, you want to see more skill, yada, yada. But like in the reality, the output, it's like, what's that really going to change? You're going to get another point and a half a game. I don't know. So I don't know what to make of that, but I would like to see him improve his jump shot. But then again, maybe that doesn't even need to be necessary. Just stop taking those jumpers and he'll be great.
Yeah, would the difference between him and someone like Ben Simmons be just like their mentality and how kind of they play? Like how Ben Simmons is kind of, at least for a little bit, was going kind of like the point guard route and not really playing like inside, more like the center or like a big man?
Exactly. Right. I mean, it's like, why fight it? You're really struggling. It's just not working for you. Part of it is they're not getting the right coaching, but whatever. So if it's not working for you, maybe, it's time at this point for Giannis, 8 years into the league, whatever he is. And then Simmons is 5 years in the league. At this point, it's like, let's just kind of focus on what you're really good at and make sure that's what you do. And that might be the answer there, because for these two guys specifically, the shooting might just be too elusive. We've seen players improve their 3-point shooting over the years as they get older, but not generally when it looks as funky as their mechanics are, and so that's the big issue. So I'm thinking they both could just ignored it.
Is Giannis was just keep attacking the paint, like as we saw in the last series of Ben Simmons. Like it seemed like he was getting kind of intimidated to attack because he was afraid he was getting fouled or going to the free throw line. I give that to Giannis, even though he wasn't the best free throw shooter at all. He wasn't afraid to take them. Besides that one game where it looked like they were fouling him and he just kept passing and not wanting to take the shooting foul. But besides that, he stepped up tonight on the free throw line.
He did, and as a result, he was much more aggressive anyway across the board, because he must have just felt really good about the free throws, where clearly he didn't want to take free throws in the other games. So great to see. I mean, that's what you need from that's the difference between the Booker and the Giannis. The Giannis came through when he absolutely needed him, and Booker did not.
Yep. Appreciate it, Coach.
You got it. Thanks. Take care. All right, let's get to Jeff X99. Let's bring you in here and chop it up a little bit. Let's see, Jeff, hit that button, come on in, and we're going to get through everybody. So we have Yuri next, and Tony, and Jameson. But Jeff, what's happening?
Hey, Coach, what's going on, man?
Not too much. I'm happy the season's over.
Same here.
What's happening? What do you want to talk about?
All right, so first thing I just want to get out of the way. I feel like NBA Twitter is gonna go off with saying crazy stuff like the year the champion was decided by his shoe size or something crazy like that because of KD's shoe.
Oh yeah, you mean because that 3-pointer that ended up being a 2? Interesting.
Yeah. I just hope it doesn't end up like that, but knowing NBA Twitter, it probably will end up like that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm contributing that too, because I mean, I'll say it out loud that the Nets, I thought they had their number until Kyrie got hurt. And by the way, it was a reckless move by Giannis too, to kind of slide underneath him and sprain the guy's ankle. Not intentional, but reckless. So, but that again, you can point to every champion has some benefit of the opponent injury. So. That happens, but it's funny because it doesn't happen where they're down 2-0 and then the injury happens. Usually it's an injury that's lingering or happened sometime before that. So, but listen, that happens every year, whatever, and they deserve it without question. They did what they had to do. They won these games, fair and square, whatever you want to call it that way. So kudos to the Bucks, and then certainly Giannis establishing himself as here's a question by the way, as a super chat, Brian Holiday, thank you so much, wants to know, are there 3 players better than Giannis right now? And Jeff, you can weigh in on this too while we're talking about it. Are there, what do you think? Are there 3 players better than Giannis?
Oh man, that's a question that more time, if more people have been asking me this, in Discord servers, and I keep saying, if it's between top 4, you can just flip a coin, and I'll take one of KD, LeBron, Kawhi, or Giannis. I would take any of them, or to some people that might say that, or to some people they'll have like Jokic and Embiid up there. I'm like, yeah, flip a coin. I'll take either any of those guys. Oh yeah, Steph. Yeah,
it's tough, right? It becomes tough when you want to pick the top three. And that's why I might have to say dominant versus better, right? Or more skilled. Because if it's skilled, then it's Steph, right? Steph is the most skilled in my mind. Although I guess Kyrie's up there too when you're talking about just skill. But that's a tough one. I don't know. I wouldn't have a problem, I don't think, putting Giannis in the top three. But then again, if someone wants to argue he's fourth, I probably wouldn't argue that either. I wouldn't have a beef. Those are tough lists. I'm always screwing those up and always forgetting somebody else. And then we get to the point where it's like, how do you supposed to rate this? I don't know. But either way, it's close. He's in the top four, right? Top five, which is amazing. So that's good enough for me.
Yeah. Just like the one question I really wanted to ask was, how do you think that since the Suns lost, do you think that their young guys, Cam Johnson, Mikal, Devin, DeAndre, do you think that their development will be helped a lot because they're gonna be very hungry going into the offseason, that knowing that they were this close and then they just kind of like fumbled the deck a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, look at it from last year in the bubble, right? They ran the table. They didn't make the playoffs, but it was a really big building block for them. And then they turned that into this past year. Well, when they got things straightened out for the playoffs, and then they went on the run all the way to the finals. So it should be a building block. They have a great coach who knows how to motivate and communicate. So I would imagine that this is going to make them better. And they'll be able to rebound from this, and they will be better. So yes, now the Booker is an interesting question of whether or not he really is a number one on a finals winning team. We'll have to. I hope he gets another shot at it. But the only problem we're going to have is playing in the West, like Kevin had said earlier, is an issue. Where at any given year, there's going to be 3 teams that can win the whole thing, and that's going to be tough to be that one guy that gets it out of there. So. But I would imagine, the sky's the limit for Aiden. I feel like he's going to be an all-star. I think Mikal Bridges could be an all-star too. So those guys, their ascendancy should continue to go, and they should get better for that.
Yeah, I agree. So really, that's all I had. So,
all right. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks for having me on.
You got it. Take care. All right, so let's bring on. Okay, so I screwed up the name last time because it wasn't Geary. It was Gary. What was it? So come on, Gary, and remind me how I'm supposed to say your name again, because I feel like you were on last time, and I now I'm forgetting. And I usually pretty good with the names. How do I say it again?
Hey, Coach. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Giri.
Giddy. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I was close, but now I remember now. So what's happening? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. The Bucks seem to have won the championship, and I'm not a fan of the Bucks, but sure, I got to respect the effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Effort was the key.
Yeah, I have 2 things that I noticed in this game, Coach. One thing was when the Suns were going on their run in the second quarter and the third quarter, I seen that Coach Budenholzer was playing Brook Lopez a lot of minutes, and what they were doing was screening CP3 with Giannis's man, and then screening that with Brook Lopez's man, and CP3 got a ton of mid range just that way. And I think that's the only reason why the Suns were close throughout this time. If they had took out Brook Lopez and put Bobby Portis, I think the game would have been over by the second or third quarter already.
Interesting. Well, what's great about the finals is that popcornmachine.net gets their game flows up really early now and right on time. So I'm looking right now at Brook Lopez. That third quarter stint, he actually played, you're right, he played about almost 9 straight minutes to start the third quarter. But guess what his plus minus was? +7 in that stretch. So they got a lot of use out of that run. So that wasn't actually the run where I think so Phoenix really had their big run to start the second quarter and then into all the way through the middle. So let me look at that, because now Brook Lopez, now there you're right. Brook Lopez started the second quarter was -10 in 3 minutes. So I think that's the stretch you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So, and they did yank him. They did yank him after 3 minutes, although that was probably the time they normally come out. But it didn't really help much once they brought, and that was Portis coming in, the Suns went on a 13-1 run to take the lead. So I think Budenholzer just was, I think he didn't know what to do at that point and was like just hoping they could kind of get control of the game, which they finally did. But that was a rough stretch for the Bucks without question.
Yeah, what I think happened for the most part of the third quarter was that the Suns saw Brook Lopez was on the 5 people, and then they were panicking, like, come on, let's attack him in the pick and roll and let's get that mid-range. And CP3 was missing some easy shots. They were panicking.
Yeah.
And one more thing I noticed was I wish they had played Cam Johnson more instead of Crowder, because the Bucks were letting Crowder have those open threes and he wasn't hitting them.
I agree.
And I think if Cam Johnson was there, he would have got rebounds. He would have shot well. He would have provided some help defensively. I don't know why they kept Crowder in the game.
Yeah, Crowder was 2 for 9 from 3, and a lot of those were wide open shots that he missed. And then, Cam Johnson was only 1 of 4 as well, but he just didn't seem to get. He only played 16 minutes, didn't get the kind of rhythm. I like Cam Johnson, and I would anticipate that he'll replace Jay Crowder in the starting lineup, but by the middle of next year. We'll see. But I think that's his destiny, and I really feel like he's got a lot more ability than Jay does ultimately. Crowder, I just, I'm a little bit not sold because he's so hot and cold and inconsistent, as is a lot of these players in the team. They got to figure out a way to get more consistency out of those guys. And then Cameron Johnson, just, great opportunity for him to get some great experience in the finals. He'll be better without question too. So I think you're going to see DeAndre Ayton, Cam Johnson, and Mikal Bridges without question being better into next year, and that's going to be huge for them.
Yes, Coach, I'm excited to see them as well. And one more thing I wanted to say was the fourth quarter, and they finally went to that lineup with Giannis at the center. The Suns' offense was entirely stymied, and it took them out of the game. They were not able to, and they were really hanging with some tough shots. That one floater Jay Crowder did, and CP3 was getting bailed out by foul calls on Giannis, and it was. I was surprised it was still going that close, because the way the Suns' offense was, they were not able to generate easy shots at all. And at that moment, around the 6-minute mark, I knew that the game was over.
I agree. I kind of felt like that in the third quarter too. That the Suns were not going to handle a third consecutive game of like having a lead and then losing the lead again, and it just seemed like they just mentally it was too difficult for them. So that's what it felt like for me. It felt like it was a kind of a blowout actually, even though it was a close 3 or 4 point game. And the Bucks, did what they had to do. So that's here we are. So thanks, Geardy. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Okay, a couple super chats. So to get on that Cam Johnson, Buzzer Beater wants to know, thank you so much for the super chat. Why didn't they use Cam Johnson more offensively? He's not the guy that's going to be using possessions. He's going to be a guy spotting up and has to wait for the ball to come to him. So that's on CP3 and that's on Booker to get the ball to him. He got chances, but and I think he probably had this normal chances in the normal minutes he would have gotten shots per minute, or whatever. So that didn't seem out of the ordinary. I just think that at some point the Monty Williams need to kind of go to him more and give him more minutes, and then the shots will come. And then Doug Light, thank you so much from Canada. Is walling off Giannis effectively still possible with his current ability to finish the rim, get a foul, and move the ball? Yes, I think in transition you still need to have the second defender at least kind of giving him that look to try and contain him. What else is there? The choice is to have one-on-one, and he will score. So you got to try something. You got to show another defender and let him kick it out and see what happens. But that just takes supreme effort that you have to be able to give out, especially in the finals. So thank you guys all for the super chats. Keep them coming. Let's see. I have Kevin here. It's probably another Kevin. Come on in the show. We'll chop it up. I got some more people. I got Tony, Jameson, Martin, Jua, Cooper, Johnny, New Doughboy, NBW Doughboy. What's happening, Kevin?
What's good, Coach? It's been a while since I think Game 4 of the Clipper series. Oh
wow, nice.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, how do you feel like the landscape of the NBA would look next year? Obviously, you got KD, Kyrie, Harden all back on the Nets. You got LeBron, AD. It's gonna be a bloodbath next year. So I was wondering your opinion on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, certainly, and then the Hawks will be better, or they'll be good, and they'll DeAndre Hunter back. So yeah, you're gonna have we'll finally have a good Eastern Conference like in the regular season too. The good Hawks, Philly, Nets, Bucks. Am I missing anybody? Let's see here. Where am I? I'll go to ESPN standings. Let's look at the standings from this year. Hawks. Oh my God, they get rid of the standings? What the H? Let's go to the teams and see what happens. Okay. I mean, Knicks, nah. Bulls, Cleveland, Detroit, Indiana, Milwaukee, no. Okay. So that's about it. I would say, yeah. So we got the Hawks. We have the Celtics. We got to figure out what they're going to be because they have a new coach. They're gonna probably change the roster up a bit. But so that's influx. We don't know. But either way, we have definitely the Nets, Sixers, and the Hawks and the Bucks. That's a good top four that could compete with the Western teams for sure. So I'm looking forward to it. And then who do I think might win? I mean, I'm still going to go with the Nets because they just are so they're so stacked across the top three. And if you had a top three like that in the finals, I think that they would have won the finals against this team. I think Giannis was so much better than anybody else, but the drop off was kind of steep. If you had KD, Harden, and Kyrie, and one the drop off is a little bit on KD's game for one game, you're going to get Harden, you're going to get Kyrie. That would have overcome, I think, any of these teams playing right now, either the Bucks or the Suns for sure.
So I got two more questions. So my sleeper team for the West next year is Golden State. I think they're the ultimate wild dog in that conference because we don't really know what Klay Thompson's going to do when he gets back. Obviously, when he gets back and if he's healthy, he's I think 23-point scorer, like 40% 3-point shooter. He's going to be like an offensive weapon. So if they are healthy, like where do you think they'll end up in the West?
It's so tough because the West again is going to be really, really tough. The Lakers will be back and healthy, and they will definitely upgrade. So keep your eye on that. I don't know if it's going to be Dame, but because I don't think they can do Dame with the right assets they have. But you have everybody else in the West too. You have Denver's going to be healthy. You have Utah, the Suns. So that's going to be really tough. But I do like what they're doing. The real question is, what are they going to do with the pick and with Wiseman and whatever? Are they going to trade that and try and bring another big, all-star in? They might, and if that happens, and again, then they're really going to be into the equation. So keep your eye on that first. But just what they have now, they should be, fourth, fifth, sixth, in that area, and then might scare some teams in the playoffs because they can get hot. And I might be selling him a little bit short because you're right. If Klay comes back healthy, you got, and Draymond's back and all that stuff. It's a formidable team that knows how to win, knows how to play together. So you should give them, probably should give them third. But either way, there's so many good teams in the West. It's crazy. And it's unclear to me yet. But keep your eye on that. I feel like there's a better than 50% chance that they're going to make a deal. And this roster is going to be completely different by the time the season starts.
Right. And my last point is like there's a lot of stigma going around like before like the series is like, oh, Giannis is not skilled. Like, he's just a run and dunk kind of guy. Like James Harden was saying, all that kind of stuff. I was just wondering like your opinion on that. Like, how do you like really judge like a skilled player, quote unquote?
Right. I mean, listen, there's a deficit there. We see some of the misses he'll miss that are just like, it makes you kind of shudder, at least for a coaching standpoint. Like, now it's not that often because he's 14 for 19 or whatever he is. So that's good. He's limiting those, but it's evidence to me that like, wow, there's some ability to continue to improve here. But so I get it, and I know that even that little push that we talked about before about giving Chris Middleton some shine for Finals MVP is really kind of shade on Giannis in some ways. So I get it, and we've seen him be shut down and have these mental things, the free throws and all these stuff. But that's part of the growing process, and a lot of great players have gone through that as well. So. You know what? Here's his chance to own it and just just sort of be the champion, know that he's a champion, and hopefully continue to improve those skills. But yes, there is a deficit of skill there. I mean, but he's so physically imposing that it's like, does it really matter that he can't shoot a three, right? Or that he can't shoot a 15-footer so well either. He's slowly getting the turnaround jumper that from about 13 feet in the paint. He's hit a number of those in the playoffs in the finals, which is impressive. So I think he's a great kid. Works really, really hard, and I have no doubt he will continue to improve. But part of the issue for him, at least for the jump shot, is he needs to get someone who knows how to teach it properly, and that's going to be a big challenge.
Okay, this is my very last thing.
Okay,
before I hand off the mic. So I'm actually a Raptors fan, and I remember 2 years ago, I think they put Kawhi on him. I do remember that. I don't know if they're building the wall or letting him go one-on-one really with Giannis.
Yeah,
but I'm just wondering, like, what did Toronto do like so successfully to completely shut him down?
Yeah.
That Phoenix Suns didn't really do.
Well, we had seen that with Kawhi in a few different series where just the sight of him on defense waiting for Giannis made Giannis just pass the ball without even needing the wall. And that was more of it could be a psychological thing too. He didn't want to go at a guy who was as physically as imposing as he is to some degree, right? Kawhi's not as long, but he's really strong. He's got the huge hands, and he's an excellent defender, if not the best defender. At least, a couple of years ago, he probably was even better than he is now. And that was a big deal. Like I remember doing videos where I'm like, look, he's not even looking at the basket. He's just passing the ball. So having Kawhi or having now Blake was doing some similar things. It's interesting because Blake guarded him a lot like Ayton guarded him in this finals, but Ayton was not nearly as effective. Ayton was more effective than anybody else. And I bet you 65% or 70% of Giannis's buckets were against non-Ayton defense. I might add that up to look at that. But Ayton had moments, but like Blake Griffin, interestingly enough, was more effective down there. So it might be worth kind of studying a little bit more, like what he was doing, angles and positioning wise, to meet him, to stop him from just battering him down low. And because I feel like, unless I'm crazy, in that Nets series, he had some clunkers where he wasn't, he wasn't dominant. We should go check and see if I can. Actually, while I'm talking, I'll do that. You know what I mean? And yet they could not recreate that with the Suns, and that was ultimately part of their downfall was giving up the 40, 50 points to Giannis. Let's see here. In the Brooklyn series, Giannis scored 34, 18, 33, 34, 34, 30, and then 40. So he had so I guess forgive me, my memory is a little bit off. He was dominant. Maybe the game 2 is what I was thinking of. And then shooting percentage wise, also very high. For some reason in my mind, Blake seemed to be more effective than Ayton had been. But you know what? It probably wasn't much different when you're looking at the numbers and the box score. So what do I know?
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate it, Coach. You have a good night.
You too. Thanks, Kevin. All right. Let's bring in Tony here and see what Tony has to say. And then we'll get to everybody else. The list, I think, is staying in the right order from now. So Jamison, Martin, Jua, Cooper, Pablo, Johnny, NBW, Doughboy, Jason, Ching, Trishawn, and Alex. And hopefully that might be it, man, because we're going to be going into an hour pretty soon. Tony, are you there? Maybe not. Let's see. I heard a little click. Nope. All right. Maybe we'll go to Jamison then instead. Let's hit the Jamison invite and see what happens. I know, I'm sorry it's taken so long to get me to everybody. You've been very patient. Thank you guys for coming on. Let's see. Jamison, are you there? Yes. What's happening?
Hello.
So
I was wondering about Booker. It felt like his offensive game really struggled when he got switched onto a big. It felt like he couldn't get by, and felt like he couldn't interrupt his rhythm and slow down, like Harden style, where you're not going 100 miles an hour at all times. He felt like he couldn't force a rotation. He couldn't bend and break a defense quite like many other people. And
well, listen, Devin Booker struggles to get by, guys. Let's face it. He does sometimes. He can also then adjust and somehow hit these crazy other difficult shots. But he's not that guy that shifty, blah, 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 and then really quick water bug, and then jumps right by you and gets the layup. Right? It's just not his thing. And so when it's not working, it really looks a bit troubling and frustrating, at least for him. You could see his reactions were troubling.
It felt like, too, that Phoenix really struggled passing-wise, other than or even Paul, too. He struggled passing-wise, but they'd top block him when the set you were talking about earlier when he'd start at the block. They'd try to top block, and he couldn't get around because he's being top blocked, and they couldn't hit him backdoor. And then you're ending with, like, Crowder running a pick and roll up top, which is a win, obviously, for Milwaukee.
Yeah, and there's got to be adjustments to that as well, where you can then adjust that screen angle so that if you're top blocking, you can still run the guy into it, or make that backdoor cut, but like you can angle the Ayton or somebody in there to set a screen in that end. So that's one of those adjustments. So you saw that in Game 6, some top blocking in that set.
Blocked in the second half, particularly when they took Lopez out, they would top block if like Tucker was on. I don't remember if they did as much with Holiday.
Yeah.
They would top block and it would blow it up, and then it ended up with like Crowder just trying to get the ball back to Booker and end with an isolation and a bad shot ultimately.
Yeah. They need to improve the flow when the first option isn't working either, which is I thought, and we saw some of that in other series, but for some reason With the Bucks, they just didn't want to, focus on that and get all the way through to some better offense. I can't wait to get through the footage and check that out too, because I can't picture that right now. But yeah, I certainly can picture Tucker top blocking in other games, but I'm anxious to go check that out and see why that died so much in the bind, because that would explain why they didn't run it at all actually like down the stretch, because they would have said to themselves, it's not working, they're top blocking, we can't get this set, we have to do something else. The problem is the something else was not good either, and that's what they have to work on.
Yeah, it felt like they just really struggled offensively all game. It felt like their defense was a problem, but it felt like their offense was really a problem. They scored 100 points in the game, and they really struggled all night long to just get good.
Well, you knew it was going to be weird because the first 5 or 6 shots were actually excellent. They ran their offense, they got great shots, and they missed almost all of them. And meanwhile, the Bucks looked terrible, I thought, in their first 5 or 6 possessions. And yet the Bucks had the 4 or 5 point lead. That was already telling you something was going to be off here. If it's the nerves or it's the the pressure or something. And as a result, it didn't really. You could argue that the Suns got control of it after that, but it never felt permanent to me that the Suns were going to take control of that game and keep it.
What I was wondering, do you have any thoughts on what Golden State might do with 7 and 14 and then Wiseman? Because I don't think they're gonna draft. I don't think they're gonna keep it again. But I was trying to think what could they do, but it doesn't seem like there'd be a whole lot of things that they'd find attractive.
Right. Is there some way Kawhi wants out and he wants to go to Golden State? I don't think Kawhi wants to leave, and then it would have to be, I think, a sign and trade. And that would have to be probably on Kawhi saying, I'm getting out of here. But if you want to do a sign and trade Clippers to get something back, I'll do that. And then Clippers would then, something like that. But then even if you do that, it would have to be Wiggins, Wiseman, probably the 2 picks, and maybe even somebody else, because the salaries don't match right. And it becomes so complicated that I just don't know how that works. So then you got to wonder, well, what else is there and who else is available? Not that many great players. Last time I remember checking, I think it was DeMar DeRozan was at the very top of the free agent list if they're going to look for that kind of thing. Although here's the other problem is the Warriors are also hard capped, I believe, or almost hard capped, so they can't sign anybody outright as it is. They have to do some sort of a trade. So then, right. So who would that be? Is there anybody else? Is it Dame? But they don't need Dame. That doesn't work. So who else would they get?
I think they had the assets to get. The people I was thinking of, maybe Brogdon and Sabonis with Indiana if they want to blow it up, or maybe somebody like Jeremy Grant. But I couldn't think of many people that would be on the market that Golden State could be able to acquire.
Yeah, if I were the Pacers and I was offered Wiseman and the 2 picks for Brogdon and I would probably take that. I would probably take that. Now, I don't think that the Warriors want Brogdon and Sabonis.
Yeah, I just couldn't think of who they could acquire with that, because obviously you'd want Kawhi if that's available. That doesn't feel like it's a realistic option.
Yeah,
and that
what they would need is KD. They need they need the other version of KD. But who is the other version of KD? Who is that? Who is 6'9", 6'10", really long, plays defense, could shoot threes? Who would that be? Who am I missing right now?
Paul George, but he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, right. Paul George, and he's not going anywhere. And it's Kawhi. It's KD. There's not too many of those. So I think that they might end up being stuck. I know they're going to really try, but they might not. There might not be anything worthy out there. I get it. You don't want to waste any extra years of Steph's career. You have to do it right now. But if that means getting rid of Wiseman, I just feel like it's too bad, because I really like Wiseman. I think he's going to be terrific, and he'll be, the sky's the limit for him. So I would think that they would want to keep him, because post Steph they'll have a guy that's going to be, a really good player. But also I get it. You don't want, this is probably the last year or two of his prime ish, and you want to be able to take advantage of that.
All right, thank you.
You got it. Thanks, Jameson. All righty. Let's do that. Any more super chats? Yes. Brown Hairy Dog, thank you so much. Coach, thanks for all the analysis this year. What pieces do you think the Bucks need to add next year to contend again for the chip? So we mentioned this earlier. DiVincenzo for sure, just getting him healthy and back. They got to get Portis back, and they have to upgrade the Jeff Teague role. Although DiVincenzo helps with that, but they need another point guard, I think, off the bench who can contribute more positively than they've had in the last year or so. And then probably another just big who's energetic, who can make some plays, bang and get some rebounds. Probably less is important for that, but certainly they need to upgrade the Jeff Teague piece on the roster. Nine Flyer, thank you. Bucks definitely made the right decision keeping Middleton over Malcolm Brogdon a few years ago. I thought it was I thought it was Brogdon, and they kept Bledsoe, or they got Bledsoe instead of keeping Brogdon. But maybe Middleton was also part of that. But yeah, I've always loved Middleton. I've always talked about he's the guy. By the way, he's the guy you'd want, like the Warriors would want. He would be perfect in the Warriors. 6'8", 6'9", long, plays defense, can shoot threes, can create off the dribble. Perfect for them, but he's not going anywhere either. I think that keeping Malcolm Brogdon over Bledsoe might have gotten them to the finals a lot earlier, but they figured it out, and they were able to upgrade to Holiday, and that really helped them, in fits and starts in the finals at least. And then he was better in the other rounds. So thank you guys all for the super chats and getting that. Let's go to Jua. I think it's Jua, Jua. I keep forgetting. I know he's been on the show before, and I'm forgetting. But I'm also seeing that this has gotten out of order again. I know people come in and requested earlier, but I'm trying to run through everybody. So, Jua, are you there? Inviting you? No? Okay. We're going to go to Martin. Martin. Are you there? Sorry, I made you guys wait for so long. You might not have. Oh, there you are, Martin.
Yo, what up, coach?
Yo,
man, I'm just kind of sad that CP3 didn't get his, ring or then, win this game.
At least he played well, right?
Yeah. So, how many years do you think he has left to play at a higher level?
I don't know, man, because the injury bug is a real thing with him, right? Random, strange, freak, whatever you want to call them. They keeps happening to him. So even if he has this great regular season again, boom, this is going to bite him. I'm worried. I was worried about his hamstrings all playoff long. He probably has another year, one more year of solid CP3 before it really starts to go.
Yeah, I see. And what do you think? What moves should the Suns make this offseason? I think they need a backup big man for DeAndre Ayton, because when he's on the bench, the Bucks or the Suns, they just get out rebounded and get attacked in the paint.
Yeah. Šarić is kind of that guy to some degree. He's not a great rebounder, but he's a really effective big, and that they really, really, really could have used in this series. So that's one thing. So the question is, I don't know if they're going to need to blow up or do anything major to the roster on the margins. Cam Payne's got to prove it to me a little bit more. I was really impressed with him and what we saw in those bits and starts across the playoffs. But I need to see a little bit more to be completely sold that this is what he really is now. And if that's the case, then they don't need to upgrade, the backup guard off the bench, who then maybe could eventually become the point starter when CP3 starts to really slow down. And again, the improvement that I'm assuming they're going to get from Bridges and Ayton and Cam Johnson, I think will be the additions they're looking for. So they don't need to do much, I don't think. I like this team. They fit together well. They have the experience together. So I think it's a lot more just of the player development time right now, starting now between now and the next year, will really, get them the most bang for the buck.
Got you. And also, I got one more question.
Sure.
What team do you think Kyle Kuzma would best fit in?
Ooh, Kyle Kuzma. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because in theory, if he had a different role and a more opportunities, he could get back to 18, 19 points a game and be a real scorer. I love the way he developed into a playmaker this past year. He was making passes on drives. It was crazy. So where would he fit? I mean, I think most teams would want him. I think he'd fit anywhere because he's sort of a, you can plug him in a lot of different roles and different positions and have him do well. Aside from the defensive end. So I don't even know if I could say one specific team. I feel like every team would be able to plug him in and do nicely. The worse the team gets, the better his numbers would be. But as it gets better, then he becomes the third guy, the fourth guy, the fifth guy. Can give a good team a little push over the top if they need it. So, does he fit well in Denver? Maybe that would be an interesting place on a good team. But I suspect he's just going to stay in LA, right? Or do you know what his status is? Is he a free agent?
Kuzma?
Yeah.
I think the Lakers, they signed a 3-year extension.
Yeah, that sounds right.
10 million, 13 million, I think. And then I think
I'm going to tell you right now.
They're trying to trade him.
Yeah, no, he's under contract for a couple more years and then has a player option in 23, 24. So, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with him. I mean, it's probably up to like what LeBron wants to do. And I would think that they were relatively happy with what I don't know. It's hard to tell because the Lakers obviously are under the championship crucible where they're like, it's a failure of a season if they don't get, win the title. And so they would, that's the kind of thing they would say right away. Well, that's got to be, we need more from a Kuzma role. I don't know. Keep your eye on that. They might move him. And by the way, he's on a really favorable contract. Let's see. Well, starting next year, he makes $13 million. That's the extension you're talking about. He only made $3.5 million this past year. It was a bargain. But now that he's making the real money, they might look at something to move him. So we'll see.
Got you, man. I mean, that's all I want to ask.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Martin.
You, man. Have a good
night.
Take
care. All righty. Let's go to Cooper 24. He's been waiting a long time. I'm going to try and get all these guys in here, and I'm doing my best to remember the order because it changes the order on me. Cooper 24. Cooper, come on in. Hit that button. Oh, let me check some super chats while we're here if we have any. Yes, let's see here. Buzzer beater. What letter grade do you give each coach? Thank you so much for the super chat. And what letter grade? Let's see. I give Monty I'd probably give him a B minus and maybe Bud a B or so, maybe B plus. I don't know. Is that too harsh? I don't know. All right, let's see. Cooper might have fallen asleep on us. How about let's bring Calvin in front of the breakdown. Calvin, are you? Oh, wait a minute. I just hit the wrong button. Uh oh. Calvin, come back. Here we go. Sorry. Come on in, Calvin.
There we go.
Sorry about that. What's happening, my man?
That game, that was one of the most intense games I've seen in a few years. Like I know that the bubble games are good, but the intensity is just way higher with the fans.
Yeah.
This whole finals, with all of these close games, it was just, and to see all those people outside as well,
Oh yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. I mean, because it's not only just the number of people, but how small of an area they were packed into. No masks, but we'll find out what happens there. But yeah, intense is interesting. I didn't feel overly intense in the game. I just feel like there was some kind of breakdowns and mistakes in a way that maybe the players were feeling all that intensity and were having trouble kind of handling it too.
Yeah. And I was
except for Giannis.
Wondering Olympic stuff as well during the off season.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I'm going out of town on vacation on Saturday for a week, which is kind of like when the games are, and then I kind of get back, and then I think there's a medal round. So I'll definitely get to a few of those games as I can and break them down for sure.
Yeah.
And by the way, there might be some losses in there for the Team USA, so don't be surprised.
Obviously, with Popovich instead of Coach K as well, it's a little bit different, and they haven't had a ton of time to adjust. So we'll see. I watched your video on the Olympics, and it's clear the other teams are getting much better, much quicker.
For sure, and they're getting Mike Brown's coaching Nigeria. They're getting the Australian coach is Australian, but man, and they ran a clinic on offense, and they've been playing together for a long time, so it's great to see. But there's a lot of NBA players out there in other countries, and they have a lot of great coaching. They play together for a long time, unlike the Team USA. So Zach LaVine, I'm surprised that it stopped. The COVID issue stopped with just I guess Zach LaVine. Although somebody just got it, and Bradley Beal got it. And it's I'm not going. So that's also strange to me that only one or the two players would have gotten it. In my mind, if they got it, it was because they all should have gotten it. And that's also weird if did they have the vaccine or not? So anyway, be on the lookout. That could cause problems for a lot of teams in the Olympics for every sport. They're going to a country that's having a spike as well. And I'm concerned.
Yeah, but getting back to the finals and stuff, what do you think that the Suns should do this offseason? Like with other teams like Golden State, I think Golden State might next year be in the Western Conference Finals. So you've got another team out there that you've got to compete against. Like,
I don't know they have to do too much. We kind of mentioned that earlier in the show, just like counting on the improvement, which we should see from the young guys. That might be enough for them. They don't have to break this up. I think there's a good core. They got a good coach. They have a really good thing going. So I wouldn't do anything. I just let Ayton and Bridges and Cam Johnson, and then I guess that also includes campaign. Let those guys continue on their natural progression of improvement year over year. That'll be better than anything they can bring in by messing up the chemistry and bring in some new players in.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if the Warriors get to the conference finals. I'll have to kind of see it to believe it first.
Yeah.
But they on paper, if Clay is healthy, they should be very, very tough.
Yeah. But they should be back because they've got a great team. It should just be interesting next year with even more talent in the league. Hopefully Kawhi doesn't miss the whole season.
It's going to be a while, right? It's going to be a big chunk of it because it was the injury he got was late in the year. So that's tough too. He might not play next year. That's the other thing, right? He might not even come back in time to play. So we'll see.
Yeah. So I've got.
Okay. Thanks, Calvin. Take care. Yep. All righty. Let's go to let's see. Anybody else? Okay, so I know. Okay, NBW Doughboy's been waiting very patiently. Let's bring him in, and we got to wrap it up, guys. We're already over an hour and 6 minutes, so I'm going to take all the try and rip through the next bunch of speakers, and then we'll be done. So NBW, what's up, my man?
Yo, I'm in. What's going on, Coach?
Hey, good to hear from you.
Yeah, good to hear from you too, man. I just want to say shout out to the chat, shout out to the B-Ball Breakdown Nation, shout out to all the real basketball fans because I enjoyed this finals. I know I'm sorry for CP3, but I wanted Giannis to win so bad, and I'm glad that he did.
Yeah, I hear you. It's Giannis. You can't help but not like the guy. You have to like the guy. I loved what he said about the past and the future and the ego and the what the other things. Right? Did you hear that speech he had after the game?
I didn't. No, I did. I came straight to the breakdown. I didn't even watch.
Oh no, it wasn't. It was after Game 5 when he said, "He's like, if you dwell in the past, that's your ego. If you're stuck in the future, that's your something. And in the present is humility." And I thought it was really great. And people were, I didn't know if I gave enough love on Twitter for that, that little bit of a video, but like it really was a great way to look at life. And so you have to cheer for that guy. But thank God that CP3 at least played well for enough of this where it's not going to completely, destroy his legacy, because had he not played well, the first 2 games he was really good. And then he had a couple, bits in the Game 5. And then tonight he was pretty good. If he hadn't played well consistently throughout the 6 games, then it would have been a hell on his legacy. And let's just pretend, let's say the Suns were up 3-0 and they lost, then it would have been over. I don't think his legacy would have survived.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I think CP3 played really well, especially on the matchups that I thought that would be bad for him. I thought the switch, like with him and Giannis, like out of the pick and roll, I thought it would be way worse. But like CP3 was just hitting shots over Giannis all the time, just like real high floaters and like fadeaways and stuff. It was just crazy, man. CP3 played real good.
Yeah, he shot really well. You got to give him credit. Like a couple of those he needed to hit where he missed as the score dictated it, and they were getting farther behind. But overall, you can't criticize how he played. He was fine. Although again, he still struggled to make some passes. They didn't go down as turnovers, but it was just like he's got torn ligaments in his hand apparently. He might even have some problem with his shoulder. Like his entry passes to the high post are so awkward and weird looking right now. I don't know what is going on with that. And the handle is so loose as he keeps losing the ball. So, we'll probably find out at some point what the real extent of his injuries were. But, and again, I don't want to give him an excuse, but a guy like that deserves some explanation based on the fact that he was the gold standard for point guard play for 20 years, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Most definitely point guard for sure. Shout out to the breakdown, man. They really like asked all the questions that I was going to ask. Like, I had like a little list, but they asked everything. I guess the only thing I would say is like as far as the play calling goes, it really felt like the Suns had a lot better like offensive sets than the Bucks did, because it seemed like the Bucks was just like let Giannis, let Drew, let Middleton go to work. But it seemed like they had a lot better sets for the Suns, in my opinion. Because like I'm a big fan of like the 2016, 2017 Warriors. A lot of elevator plays, backdoor, Princeton, a lot of stuff. So
sure,
I mean, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, the Bucks are stagnant, and like I was mentioning earlier, I was doing a video on Connaughton, which I couldn't finish today, and maybe I'll end up releasing it somehow. I would say 85% of the plays he's in, he just goes to the left corner and stands there, maybe 90%. And that's indicative of what they're running on offense, where you have at least two of those guys on any given possession just will stand in one place the entire possession. Whereas at least with the Suns, generally they have more movement with five players in the ball. Aesthetically, I like that. As a coach, you kind of like that more. Sometimes you just say, hey, whatever it takes to get a good shot. Let's boil our offense down to the very fundamental parts so we know we're going to get the right guys in the right spots. But against a good defense, it just makes those shots that much harder, which is what we saw. And there were some critical breakdowns for the Bucks in the fourth quarter that made it look really ugly. Middleton threw the ball away twice. That was like he did it on purpose or something like that. So you like to see those things avoided, and like to see the teams play as well as they possibly can, and go at each other. We didn't quite get that though tonight or for a lot of the series, and that's just too bad.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I guess my last question would be, do you think that teams are going to start going more big, like going at the tall players? Because like it seems like about like middle 2015, like teams are starting to go small with like the Blazers and the Warriors, like with a lot of 3-point shooting and whatnot. And it seemed like it's kind of going away from that, because like the last 3 championship teams have been having like good bigs, like good threes and whatnot. So.
Well, I mean, I think the question ends up being like, look at the last year. The Lakers had like LeBron and AD. They would, and they'd also start like another like a Gasol, whatever, like a big man. Last year it was JaVale, right? So they were going ultra big to start. This time they'd have Giannis and Lopez are kind of like ultra big, So I hope so. The Milwaukee Bucks have now just proven that going for offensive rebounds is a very viable strategy. And you can make up for a lot of issues by getting all those second chance points. Tonight was no exception. They completely hammered them on those boards and won the game, I would think. Giannis was great, and Giannis got a lot. I bet you Giannis had 10 second chance points of his 50 points, or probably 10 of them were that way. So without those, they don't win the game. So I would like to see teams starting to go back and trying to get more offensive rebounds. They stopped doing that for years. They were so worried about transition and giving open threes in transition that they just didn't go for offensive rebounds anymore. And then all of a sudden it made the defensive rebound stat like meaningless, because none of them, they're just grabbing them, without having to jump. But I would love to see a team crash 2 guys, to the offensive boards with the other 3 guys getting back and trying to take advantage of that. And because, by the way, the best threes you get are the ones that are kicked out after an offensive rebound. So why wouldn't you want to get more offensive rebounds, right? It's exactly. So mind-boggling to me how that guy took over by 5-6 years. So yes, I hope that the Milwaukee Bucks have inspired a ton of teams to go for more offensive boards.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, that's it for me, Coach. I appreciate you letting me come on, and I'm in. Well, I guess the season over, so we're out. But I'm still in. So.
We got lots to go. We have a lot of live shows. Don't go anywhere. I'll be here a lot more. So don't worry. We're all in.
Most definitely.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, brother. All righty. Let's go to Agiega. Let's bring him in here. We had him on the last show, I believe. And I'm sorry for all the for long, but I'm ripping through this. I think we're going to cut it off here. I see the last guy, Alex, and we'll cut it off there. But Agiega, what's happening, my man?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm doing good. How are you doing, Coach?
Good. What's up?
So, like, Coach, I was wondering, what do you think would happen if one of the teams actually adopted triangle in the triangle off?
Yeah, I mean the absolute pure triangle. There's some issues there that I wouldn't even run now because I used to run that. So you wouldn't necessarily see the actual the pure triangle that they ran for the Bulls and the Lakers. But without question, we see a lot of pieces of the triangle now. Like even the Bucks run it. The Bucks would hit the pinch post, and they would set their most famous play, or the most common play right now, if you can picture this, and I show them all my videos. Hit Giannis with the elbow, and then on the other elbow, they're doing a split screen with Holiday and Middleton. That's also an option on the triangle offense. So we're seeing these little bits and pieces. It doesn't flow like it used to. So the point being that, yes, you can easily put that in and flow the triangle offense with a little adjustments here and there, and you could easily run it with a lot of great shots and get threes like you want, get attack on the catch. So, yeah, I agree. I think that there's a lot of room to do it. There might need to be just a different way to kind of build it from the ground up when you're teaching a team how to run it all the way through. But a lot of it still definitely applies to this day. That's the genius of Tex Winter and how well he designed it to begin with.
Yeah, that reminds me. Have you been interned by Tex Winter? I heard that somewhere.
Tex was a friend of mine, and I was able to spend a lot of time with him just talking about the triangle and dissecting and figuring out how to teach it, how he taught it. And that's just a testament to how nice this man was, who, at a summer league game back when it was in Long Beach in 2000 or 1999, I just somehow was on the floor because there was no security. And I just literally grabbed his arm and be like, Coach, let's talk. And we were running it at the high school level, and he just kind of took me under his wing. I've been to visit him in where he lives in the off season in Oregon, and just spent a lot of time with him, and was able to absorb a lot. Probably most of my basketball information I got from him.
Oh, okay. Another question, what would you do if you were Suns? Because I don't think they need to change up the roster, as you said before. I think what they need to mainly focus on is meditation, because you see Devin Booker kicking chairs and getting frustrated when they're down by 3 or 4 points in the end moments. I think what they really need to do is focus on meditation and focus on mindfulness, so they're same all the time.
I like that. I absolutely like that. Man, that's what Steph Curry does that, and you can see how he can perform in the face of adversity without anything bothering him. Jay Crowder certainly would benefit from that as well. Aiden seems to be a guy who's mindful and doesn't seem to get too rattled, although he was rattled today, but it wasn't outwardly apparent. And even the guys like Bridges also seem to be grounded. So they have a good roster for that as well. But you're right. The frustration certainly bubbled over in a way that you can't let that happen at all. Bobby Portis got a technical foul with his frustration too. That cannot happen in the finals. That was dumb. So I like it, yeah, for sure. And I wonder if the teams, Phil Jackson did that a lot with the Lakers and the Bulls. I don't know if a lot of teams are doing mindfulness, but they should.
Yeah. Okay. And another question. So I see NBA teams running pick and rolls, but I heard from somebody that pick and rolls are usually more effective if you have a down screen going on at the same time. Because when I see pick and rolls, I see 2 guys moving, and the rest of the 3 guys on the team are just standing at one place. So isn't that making the pick and roll useless?
It's not necessarily useless, but yes, if you just run a high ball screen right away when you're in offense, the defense is completely in position and they're ready to play that. That's the best version of a pick and roll they know how to guard. So what we've learned, and the Spurs taught us this in 2014 and before, that when you get some action into the pick and roll is when you get the best results. So it's not only just maybe a pin down on the weak side while you're running a pick and roll on one side, it's doing a handoff into a pin down and then the pick and roll, or doing some pistol action. Those are the kind of things that loosen the defense up more, and then boom, you're off and running and hitting that and hitting that pick and roll off some movement. That I think is even maybe more important. But certainly occupying the weak side with other kind of movement as well is really important. The kind of things that we didn't see a lot of, like with the Bucks, for instance, but we did see a lot with the Suns up until the last game and a half.
Yeah. All right, Coach. I want to ask you another thing. What program do you use to edit your softwares? I
use Adobe Premiere for my videos that way. And then I also use, for all the really cool 3D effects, I use Coach Paint. And if you're a coach out there or a team that wants to use that, hit me up and I'll connect you with those guys, because it's really useful software to explain to your players when you want to go through film sessions, where to go. It's not just a nice, cool thing for the broadcast. You can use it for your teams and it'd be really helpful.
Yeah, and I'm big on Warriors. So about the Warriors, I was thinking about this because Clay's coming back after 2 years, and Steph and Draymond did pretty good this year. So I was thinking, what if they trade away Clay and bring some big man into it?
Oh my gosh. I don't think anybody wants Clay. That's the problem. They'd have to at least see him on the court first to see if he can move and play.
Yeah.
And if he can, then the Warriors probably don't want to give him up, right? So that's an issue. So they won't trade him. You can't trade a guy as popular as Clay. That's why it's like I don't know how they're going to trade Dame Lillard either, because they're going to burn Portland down if he leaves like that. But that won't happen. So I mean, we could, I wouldn't even consider it.
It's a risky move to me because like Clay is a big guy on the team, but then if you do it and it works out, it's going to be actually more useful than keeping Clay on the team because he's coming back after 2 years. Let's say he came back 100% for both of his injuries.
Yeah.
He still hasn't played for a long time, and that's going to take a toll.
Yeah.
On the
Well, and by the way, exactly what the other teams are going to be thinking. So we'll see. But I like where your head's at, but I just don't think it's even going to be a possibility. So, well, thank you, Agay. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks for doing this.
Damn. Okay. I got this 2 click on the draw. Pablo, let's bring Pablo in. Rip through all these. And I got Alex as the guy in the end of the list here. Pablo, Johnny, Jason, Ching, Trayshawn, and Alex. And then that is it. We're already an hour 20. Pablo, what's happening, my man? I don't hear you. Are you? Oh, there you are.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How's it going?
Good. Yeah. Regarding the game 6, I feel good that Giannis managed to get his first championship, but at the same time, I kind of feel disappointed at the Suns because they had a lot of good flow in their offense in the previous series, especially versus the Denver Nuggets, the Clippers, kind of. But the thing is that it sometimes frustrates me to see that some teams just abandon their offenses in the finals, because we saw that with the Miami Heat. Especially, I remember that you tended to point it out a lot of times versus the Spurs, where sometimes they run their offensive sets, but all of a sudden they stop running it, and that ends up complicating their offense. So I'm not very sure.
Well, yeah, I think you have to give credit to the defense, obviously, because guys like Tucker are really physical, and they're going to bump you out and take you out of the sets. Holiday is terrific. Middleton's great. Giannis is great. So that's a part of it where like you begin to run it and like they're already in your way. They're bumping you. They're top blocking, all these different things, taking away cuts. And so you're like, this isn't working. And then that's why you kind of all of a sudden you go away from it. But it doesn't really excuse you from not executing. Like there are progressions. Okay, he takes this away, we do this. And then you take that away, you do this. There are ways to stick with it to continue running that set so that you do get those good shots. They didn't do that either. So it was a twofold compounding problem. The shot clock is winding down, every second goes by. So that becomes another pressure point for them. And that's, the experience factor, right? If you have enough experience, you've been there, you know how to handle it and handle those kind of great defenses. Because remember that you're not facing that kind of defense during the regular season. You're not facing that kind of defense in the first round, probably not in the second round either. So all of a sudden, it's like it is a new thing. They've now gone through it, and you hope that they grow from that. You hope Monty grows from it too, and is able to get more control over it and say, "Listen, get back to running this thing and stop just breaking it off so early because you feel like they're in your way."
I see, and I think you once said that sometimes it's a bit difficult to see who is the culprit of the team not running enough offense, whether it's maybe a Chris Paul issue, the players not listening, or maybe it's the coach not calling plays. So I think there are some people who have told me that they should bring this all-star to the bring another all-star to the finish, but I agree with you that they don't need to reinforce that team that much. They just need to be more consistent with the offense, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, on both ends, they need to be more consistent. But certainly when you see guys like Ayton fumbling and like just kind of off and no rhythm on his shots and stuff like that and missing all those easy bunnies, you could point to saying, fix that part, and then they win that game and they get to a game 7, or fix that part or in other games and maybe they win the whole series. And that doesn't have to talk about defense. So you're right. I just feel like the natural progression of these players it's such a steep, they're going to get really good and much better in a quick way. That the Suns' future is very bright, to use a cliche, and they won't have to do much at all to their roster except just get healthy.
Yeah, and one last thing that I wanted to say is that, but regarding that, sometimes when these teams lose the finals, some of these teams, who knows if they will ever come back, and that's where the teams may end up having conflict with each other. Because I think I once remember that DeAndre Ayton once said that Chris Paul is the best thing it has ever happened to him. But who knows that all of a sudden there may be conflicts within the team because their teams may start losing. So, and just the fact that the Lakers may come healthy, the Clippers, it depends on what happens with Kawhi Leonard. So, yeah, it's a bit tricky to see what's going to happen next season with the Suns, even if they have a lot of young people there. But
I agree. It's going to be an interesting season. I can't wait. I mean, listen, I can't wait. I want a little break. I need another little vacation, but then it'll be fun to get back to it and really have a fresh season. Hopefully COVID is going to be low where they can have the fans in the stands from day one. And hopefully they get back to the right schedule. I don't want to be watching finals games in July. This is crazy.
Okay. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Paolo. All right, let's see if we rip through these. So Johnny, let's bring Johnny in here. I'm rip through all these through. Let's get boom, boom, boom. This is a fast break. Everyone, have your fast break game ready. So Johnny, are you there? I know you've been waiting for a while. I apologize. If not, I'll get you on the next one. Let's see here. Maybe Johnny is not there. So let's do. I'll give you another second. Johnny, be good. All righty. How about Jason? Oh, there you are, Johnny. Are you there? Johnny, I don't hear you, though. I see you on the show, but I don't hear you. Maybe you're muted. Maybe your mic is muted. There you are.
Awesome. So just watching the game, a little sad the Suns couldn't pull it out, but just upon observing, the size differential seemed like a huge, huge factor on the defensive end. Just wanted to see how you think Monty Williams could have, because the efficiency offensively seemed to be comparable with Giannis if he hadn't had been consistent with the rest of the series on his free throws, made half of those free throws, it would have been a much closer game. What do you think the Suns could have done to combat that?
Right. Well, we saw them bring Frank Kaminsky in for those 10 minutes because they needed some sort of size. And you know what? He was pretty good. He was even, a 0 plus minus, which is a huge win for the Suns. There wasn't -10 in 10 minutes like you would have thought could have happened. But who else are they going to bring in? They don't have anybody because they already had the injury to Saric, so he couldn't play. And he's not huge, but he's, he kind of bangs a little bit. He grabbed a rebound or two. Other than that, who else do you play? Maybe Torrey Craig kind of bangs, but he's not big, and he had problems with that in the last game. He only played 48 seconds, it looks like, right? Because otherwise he played 48 minutes. I think Torrey Craig only played 48 seconds. So his hands were tied, Monty Williams. There wasn't much more he could do. Except hope that maybe all of a sudden Mikal Bridges would play a lot bigger and stronger than he is. Mikal Bridges certainly has to get a lot stronger. That's his big thing from next year. He needs to be able to hold position down low, grab the tougher rebounds, and be more effective down low when guys are butting him out of the way.
Totally. Definitely agree. One last question. Do you think that offensively the Suns could have maybe the use of the Spain pick and roll could have maybe led to a couple more buckets down the stretch? Because it seemed like regardless of what they were running, getting it to Booker, getting it to Paul, it just, nothing would fall.
Right.
Do you think that would have led to a couple last chance opportunities down the stretch?
It was mind-boggling how often they went away from that and they didn't run it. I remember they ran at least once in the first half and they got a great shot off of it. The proof was there. There was evidence to me that it was a very viable set. They should have run more. They could have run that every single time down and I would have thought gotten something good out of that. So they'll have to look at it and figure out what they were calling. I don't know if Monty had a lot of control. It sounds like CP3 was the guy calling those plays. He doesn't like to call it as nearly as much as Cam Payne did when CP3 was out. And that's just sort of the nature. If you're going to get Chris Paul, you have to let him have that control, but you have to then influence him better from the bench and somehow get him to call that because it was clearly a good play. So great call. Not sure what happened and why they didn't run it more. But thank you, Johnny. I guess that was maybe he hopped out there. All right, let's go to Jason. Let's see. Jason's there. We got 4 more people and we're done. Jason, Ching, Trishawn, and Alex. So nobody else requests to come in the show. We are done after that. We're already at 90 minutes. But you guys are all still here. It's amazing. No one wants the season to end. And then shout out to Johnny. You couldn't see, he had a pretty funny picture in his profile. I know you guys couldn't see it, but I couldn't. Had a Jesus as my co-pilot, but it got really kind of went off the deep end after that next sentence. So, Jason, are you still there? No? All righty. Well, let's move on to Ching. We'll go out with a bang or a whimper if no one else is available. Let's see here. I guess Jason, no. And then Johnny was already on. We'll just do this. Ching, are you there? And we got Trishawn and Alex. Let's see here. All right. Well, maybe no Ching either. Let's try Trishawn. And Trishawn, are you there? Thank you so much for being so patient. If you guys are still out there ready to go, because I know this is taking a long time, but I'm doing my best here. Oh, there. Okay. So I missed Ching, but he re-requested. So let's bring Ching back on there. And then maybe Trishawn is not there anymore. Ching, answer the invitation. Come on in. And then Alex, and then we'll wrap it up. Hey, Ching, how's it going? Hello. I don't hear you, but I see you there. You're on the show. Are you there? Is your mic on? There you go. Maybe. I heard it click. Uh-oh. I don't hear anything. All right. One last chance. No. Mike, talking into it. I don't know. Damn. All right. Well, let's bring Alex in and see if Alex is out there. And Alex, let's see. Last chance. And then I got another super chat, looks like. All right. Well, we're waiting for Alex. Ismail Abdullah, thank you. Can you please talk about Suns free agency if you think CP3 will exercise player option? Crowder switches to teams a lot and B-Book needs a true young star. Alex, you there?
I am.
Hey, what's happening, my man?
I'm doing well. I know it's late, and I know it's time to wrap it up soon.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you for being so patient, but glad to have you on. What's on your mind?
I was thinking we could talk about the NBA draft.
Uh-oh. All right. I haven't done a ton of homework on it, but we could try. Let's see what happens.
No worries. Honestly, I just got into this like about 2 days ago, so I'm as
all right. What are you thinking?
I noticed that you mentioned someone, that can play the three that kind of fits inside the Warrior scheme a little bit. Because I know that Andrew Wiggins he's there, but I wouldn't say he's a perfect fit. And the Kelly Olynyk experience or Kelly Oubre experiment hasn't seemed to go great. He'll be great for another team though. Or honestly, they could probably try to re-sign him since they have Kenny Atkinson back, or Kenny Atkinson on the team.
Yeah.
Because his player development phenomenal. But Moses Moody, I think that if he falls to 7, which I think he will, that could be a replacement. They wanted to go that route, maybe save some money because they're already not doing so well, or maybe do a sign and trade to get some value back.
Yeah.
I think that those are avenues that you can go. Moses Moody, honestly, is one of my favorite players inside this draft. But I'm honestly a Clippers fan, so I've been thinking about people that are like later down the board. So Trey Mann, Usman Garuba, JT Thor, Isaiah Jackson, Kai Jones, even those guys that are kind of like the big guys that are kind of except for Trey Mann. Those big guys that have the agility and quickness to stay competent in the pick and roll or even switch onto guards is something that I've been kind of looking for as a Clippers fan because I saw Ty Lue running a lot of drop coverage, and I called it before the playoffs even happened that was going to be exploited. And it got exploited with the Mavs, and then it got exploited with the Clippers, or not the Clippers, but the Suns. But the good thing is that they kind of at least for the pick and roll, I think that the theory was right. Sometimes the execution just was here and there. But
yeah, I hear you. Well, it's interesting to see how the evolution of the drafting is going to take place and whether they're going to continue to like draft Aitons at the top of the draft or are they going to get smart and find more of those guys who are 6'9", who can shoot threes and play defense. That's what you want. That should be the most priority. You can get the Aitons at 10, 11 and get, let's say you don't get Aiton per se. You get 85% of Aiton at the 12th spot. And, you don't have to waste the number 1 pick on that. So That's how I see it, and we'll see. I got to do my homework. I mean, I only know the top 3 or 4 or 5 guys, and I'll do some videos on them. But I got to get down to Moses Moody's and those guys because I'm interested to see what they're about.
Well, I know that when I first saw Moses Moody, Chris Middleton was like the first thing that kind of popped inside my head.
Okay.
So like 3-point value, defensively, right? Defensively, at least for like rookies coming out, like you don't expect him to be, that type of defensive stopper. And I think that he has great potential. I'm not sure if out the gate, he has that Chris Middleton like ability because that's really hard to do. But I think that offensively, his 3-point value is really good off ball. On ball, I believe he has creation, at least for his shot. And I would imagine he's an okay playmaker. I have to probably do a little bit more scouting on that. But at least from an offensive standpoint, he's someone that kind of really stands out. And I like his game. He's actually high on my board, but because again, I'm a Clippers fan, so I'm kind of looking later down the board.
Sure.
Trey Mann is someone that I've been looking at.
Okay.
And
cool.
Because for the Clippers, right, Kawhi is going to be gone, so they have Paul George, maybe Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard, but in the playoffs, he's like Luke Kennard isn't necessarily a terrible defender, but in the playoffs, not that bad defenders turn into terrible defenders because it's the playoffs.
Right. Although I still think he did fine. He had a clunker or 2, but overall, I thought he did fine even in the playoffs, and then helped them out on offense too. So probably should have gotten more minutes earlier in their run and saved people some extra minutes and some rest. But they figured it out. And by the way, awesome breakdown and scouting report for Moses Moody and some of these guys. It's really great to get that going, so my mind can start going as we get into the draft season.
Yeah. But and I think Luke Kennard's defense wasn't that bad either, but I saw a lot of instances where they had to hedge, at least in the Dallas Mavericks series, and that kind of didn't lead that well.
No. Yeah.
But at least what Trey Mann offers you is he offers you shooting off the dribble. And from what I hear, his handle is really, really tight. And his vision seems to be a little bit underrated. Not like an elite playmaker by any stretch of the imagination. Or like probably one of the better playmakers in this draft, but he's a good playmaker. And the instant like thought that comes inside my head is this is going to transfer into the playoffs because what's really valuable is shooting off of the pick and roll, especially in the playoffs, because that can exploit a lot of deficiencies in pick and roll coverage for other teams. And I think that that's what we need because other than Reggie Jackson, we don't really have much. Terrence Mann is a great, 3 and closeout player and great defense, but that's not someone that you want to like put up 39 points every single game because he's not going to do that.
Right.
So,
all right. Well, great call. Well, so either way, Alex, thank you. I think this is it. But I thank you so much for coming on. That's a great breakdown. And the Clippers too. We have to get back to them and figure out what the heck they're going to do and how hard it's going to be in the West. But good stuff. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate the work that you do.
I appreciate you. Thanks so much. All right, Ching requested. Let's try one more time and see if we can get him in here and have the sound work, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Let's see here.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes.
Oh, finally! That technical program just made me.
Okay.
I'm a fan from Hong Kong, so forgive for my bad English. So.
No problem. I can hear you fine.
Okay. So what I want to talk about is that actually Holiday is guarding Chris Paul on game starting from game 3.
Mm-hmm.
And today you can see that PJ Tucker is guarding CP3 now, and it makes CP3 gets going. And so what I think is that Holiday should be guarding CP3 today, because and on the first half, I really think that we are going to game 7 because CP3 gets going, and when CP3 gets going, and Brook Lopez will be get punished and get back to the bench, and if CP3 can shoot a lot of mid range, and also that 3-pointers will be wide open because you have to guard the mid range, right? So what do you think about Holiday? Holiday whether should guard Booker or CP3?
Well, I mean, if you look at Booker's numbers, he was terrible, right? He shot really poorly, and I got to go look at my mind because I know Giannis ended up having him for a number of those shots, but I bet you that it was Holiday on him on a lot of the other ones, and so obviously that helps you too, and I think that they could live with CP3 shooting well on the mid-range, and making sure that Booker didn't go off. I think that makes them give them a better chance to win than if you let Booker go off and then CP3 is missing shots because he's going against Holiday. You know what I mean? I kind of feel like that's what they probably felt, and that seems right to me too, just sort of thinking about it. So I just feel like that must be the key there, was that they knew they simply could not have Booker go off because, if he goes off, he could win the game by himself, just like Giannis could do it by himself. And by the way, Giannis was amazing. If Booker had a normal game, for his standards, the Suns probably win, and he couldn't have even a normal game. So that's a credit to their defense and to Holiday and the whole team's defense. So, but that said, Booker was also off as well. So we lost Ching also. He dropped out. I don't know what happened, but anyway, waiting for him. But let's see if you're going to jump back in here. Oh, there you are.
I'm just so surprised that Giannis has a really great game because actually we in Asia we almost everyone thinks that Giannis has no skill. He only runs and dunk, and so we don't like to see him get the ball and try to do isolations. But today he can do some pull up jump shot and turn around jump shot. Wow, that's just amazing. So I think that saves the Bucks because I think the defensive strategy and offensive strategy are wrong today because you should not get too many isolation to Giannis, but Giannis mixes, so that's fine.
Yeah, he was big. He came up big when they needed him, and that was the difference. And that was the difference across the whole series. He filled up the box score so much that he's propelled them to these victories. Skill, whatever that means, I don't know. Dominance, whatever that means. That's what he did, and that's why he's the Finals MVP.
Yeah, and I think that the Suns actually are very young, and it is a surprise for them to play in the finals. So in the finals, I think that today those young players can't get up. Like Cam Johnson, like Mikal Bridges, they can't shoot threes because when CP3s get open, it should be they should be get wide open and get some 3-point shots. If they mix it, I think Suns will win today, and we will have a game 7.
Right.
So, yeah. So what about thinking the next year? How about the Suns? Because CP3 is getting older, and so would you think Suns will still have a chance on competing NBA champions?
I think they get one more year of CP3 before he completely breaks down, and I think that the young guys will improve, and so they will be better as a team overall. And CP3 will be able to do a lot less, and that'll extend his career a little bit. But I think next year is the last year before they got to figure out a permanent replacement for CP3. And that maybe that is Booker. I need to see Booker do it more consistently for a longer stretch from that, compared to what we saw in the playoffs, which I thought was great. And then that might be him. And then they need to obviously then find another backup point guard behind Campaign.
Yeah.
So, but they're on their way. They should be very competitive again. And as long as Bridges and Ayton and Cam Johnson and Campaign keep improving the way they have been. And they get Šarić back healthy, and he's back on the team, then they'll be excellent.
Yeah. So what do you think about Campaign? Because he have been playing in China, and I saw his game.
Yeah.
And which is amazing. Yeah, in China standard.
Right.
Yeah. I think this year he also improves a lot. The biggest image about thinking of Campaign is he is dancing with Russell Westbrook,
Right.
and this year he is completely break out. So what do you think about Campaign's future?
I think I don't think it's I think it's real. I think what he did in the playoffs, you don't just do that in the playoffs in the key, pressure-filled games and then this disappears again. So I think that he's gotten a lot better. He's figured out how to change speeds better and become a more balanced player. So I anticipate him, coming off the bench like he did in the playoffs and having a terrific year. I need to have him prove it for me to make sure, but I see him, playing 25 minutes a game, scoring 12 points and getting six assists and really running the show when he's out there, and being better. I suspect he'll be better again next year and be very viable, and then perhaps ready for the next year to take over as a starting point guard after Chris Paul goes away.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. That's all I want to say. And yeah, really appreciate your work. Like the videos, I learned it all from you. And thanks, Coach.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All the way from Hong Kong. I appreciate it. Stay safe.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, that's the show, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Wow, we got an hour and a half. A lot of people here still. If I was going to coach one roster, excuse me. Oh, I missed a couple of super chats. Forgive me. So Ismail, I got to the Suns free agency a bunch of times, I think, we talk about how they're going to go. Tim, Mikhail was key Milwaukee, couldn't guard him or Cam. Thank you. I guess, but Mikhail and Cam just weren't doing it in volume, so Milwaukee didn't care too much. And then Andrew Zhu, best friend of the breakdown. If you were to coach one NBA roster right now, who? I don't know, like maybe the Clippers. That could probably be a good lineup. I know Reggie kind of well. I certainly know Paul. Those guys are great and really coachable players. But I'd coach any team anywhere at this point. I haven't been on the court in so long; they won't let me on the court in Los Angeles. So I'll take any team, any level. Just let me have it. But anyway, thank you guys so much for being part of the show. And don't forget, sports fans, at BBALL Breakdown, we're not a channel; we're a conversation. You in?